So welcome back to Familia Dos Palas and our DIY and kitchen tips. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about dry rubs and chicken. You're tired of having bland chicken? This is a pretty decent and tasty rub that I sort of put together of most of the common ingredients that you would have in your kitchen. For a family of 5, we really need to provide the extra chicken. One chicken is not really enough for us. So I've bought two 1100 gram chickens today that I'm going to prepare. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my ingredients into a bowl and mix it up before I apply it. This way all the spices get evenly distributed on the chicken. Now, since I have 2 kilos of chicken, I'm going to add 2 heaped teaspoons of sea salt. Into that mixture, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of red paprika, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder or saffron, 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, a teaspoon of cumin powder, half a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of thyme or local za'atar. And that's it. That's all that I'm going to put in my dry mix, and I'm just going to stir that up and mix that all together before I rub it into the chicken. So now that my dry rub's ready, I'm about to put it on the chicken. Make sure you've got clean hands, you've washed the chicken, and it's all ready to go. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and apply the dry rub to the chicken. It's all done by hand. And now I'm just going to massage that all into, make sure the chicken's completely coated in this mix. One of the things that I do when I'm roasting chicken is I always make sure that the chickens are on their backs, the breast up, and I don't let the chickens touch each other. Touching not allowed. COVID-19 separation. And that's about it. The next step is to add in a few vegetables like garlic, onions, and I put in a few slices of lemon just to give it that zesty flavor. Now that the chicken is sort of covered in dry rub, I'm just going to keep that aside, and I'm going to prep a few things. I'm going to put in approximately 4 to 5 garlic pods per chicken for this recipe, and all I've done is just remove the outer skin and individualized each pod, and that's it. I'm not really going to clean it any further. I'm just going to dump it into the pot as is. When it roasts like this, the garlic tends to become nice and sweet, and it tastes fantastic when you eat it. And the moment you put it in your mouth and that little burst of garlic comes through, it's just the most divine thing that you can have. So these will be just sprinkled around on the chicken. With the 2 chickens, I'm going to prepare 3 medium-sized onions, and these are also going to be sort of cut up in chunks, not fine. And this will also be spread around the chicken. I've given these onions a quick wash, and I'm just going to quickly chop them up in about 4 or 6 pieces each, and add them to the chicken. And last but not least, I am going to prepare my lemon. So the next step is to get a nice yellow lemon, and I'm going to slice this into not really fine but thin slices. When I have sliced them, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out all the pips, because these can get really bitter, and when they're left in the stock and get them in your mouth, can be quite difficult to eat. I'm going to put a couple of them inside the stomach cavity of the chicken, just to get that nicely tangy. And I like to leave a couple of them just over the top breast of the chicken, so as it's cooking, the juices just flow over and get into the rest of the chicken as it cooks. Now, some of the family don't like carrots, but I would go with any of the other vegetables that you would love to see in your stock. One of these will be eaten probably tonight, but the rest of the chicken, normally after roasting it, we take it out and shred it for making chicken chili fry or adding it to sandwiches and things like that. And it's always preferable that once it's out and it's cooled down enough to touch, shred it as when it's warm, because it's much easier when you do that. Once you put it in the fridge and it gets cold, it's a lot harder to get the meat off the bone. And this is probably one of the best tips that I could give most people, is shred your chicken as soon as it's out of the oven and cool enough to touch. The next step is, before you put your chicken in, make sure that your oven is preheated to a setting of 180 degrees Celsius. So I'm just going to put a foil over the top and poke some holes into it so that the air can escape, but most of the steam will stay within the pot and the chicken will stay nice and juicy. I'm going to now just so there, I've prepared this little cover, and I'm just going to poke a few holes in the top of the roaster to let the steam out. This will now go in for 1 hour and 15 minutes. We've taken out the chicken now. It's pretty much ready. I'm just going to test it, and knife goes straight through. It's pretty much falling off the bone at the moment. So I'm going to allow this to cool. Take the chickens out and separate the stock, and we're going to make a nice sauce with that for the chicken later. So welcome back to Familia dos Vals, and continuing from the roast chicken that we did. This was the leftover stock that we got, and I'm gonna blitz that in a hand blender to create a lovely brown sauce that can go over the chicken. So first thing is, I'm just going to collect all the vegetables that we had initially put in to that roast. Try and blend this without dropping anything. So that's the stock all nicely blended, and you can put that in a boat and serve it along with your chicken, or reduce it further. I don't think I really need to strain this. We like it as it is, but if you aren't really comfortable with having little bits and pieces in your sauce, then please feel free to strain that out. So one of the great things about this recipe with the roast is that I haven't added any oil at all. It was a plain dry rub with some vegetables and the foil on top which allowed all the juice from the chicken to come out, all the oils to come out from the chicken itself and enrich the stock that we made. And so this is really quite a healthy dish. So there is absolutely no oil or water added to this dish. Everything that is in the pot when it started cooking is what came out at the end. That's your basic roast chicken. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our videos on Familia dos Valles. Thank you, and see you on the next video.